Hello, Third Shifters. Welcome back to the channel. This month, we're diving into something dark, something that still haunts the shadows of history. August is officially cult month here on the channel, and every week we'll be uncovering some of the most disturbing, twisted groups to ever exist. Tonight, we're starting with one of Canada's most brutal and horrifying cults, the Ant Hill Kids. So grab your coffee, settle in, because this is one story you won't want to hear alone.
Welcome to Third Shift Archives, where nightmares don't clock out. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
In the remote wilderness of Quebec, Canada, far from any neighbors beyond roads most would dare to drive, a small group of followers lived in fear under a man they believed was chosen by God. They were promised salvation. They were promised safety from the end of the world, but what they received instead was years of torment, torture, and death. This is the story of Roch Thériault and the cult known as the Ant Hill Kids. Roch Thériault was born in 1947 in Quebec, a boy raised in a strict Catholic household. From the outside, his childhood was unremarkable. He was bright, clever, and charming. But as he grew older, Roch became convinced he was destined for something greater. He told friends and family that he had visions, messages from God, warnings of a world soon to be cleansed. By the time he reached his early 30s, Roch had drifted away from the Catholic Church, drawn instead to the teachings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Their apocalyptic beliefs gave him the foundation he needed to build something far darker. In the late 1970s, he began recruiting followers, mostly young men and women searching for purpose, stability, and community. Roch promised them safety when the world ended. He told them only through his guidance would they survive the coming apocalypse. He claimed to be a prophet, but in his followers' eyes, he quickly became something more. He called his flock the Ant Hill Kids. The name, he said, reflected their mission to work tirelessly like ants, building a new kingdom for God. At first, life at the commune, deep in the forests of Quebec, appeared simple and peaceful. Roch banned alcohol, tobacco, and processed foods. They farmed their own crops, built cabins by hand, and spent their days in prayer and labor. But beneath this image of rural purity, Roch was already laying the groundwork for absolute control. By the early 1980s, Roch Thériault had transformed from charismatic leader into a tyrant. He dictated every aspect of his followers' lives. No one was allowed to speak to outsiders. He controlled their marriages and relationships, deciding who could be with whom. Often he simply took the women for himself, fathering more than 20 children within the commune. He declared himself not just a prophet, but the literal voice of God on earth. Disobedience, even doubt, was punished severely. A former member would later testify,
"He said leaving meant death, that God would strike us down. And if not God, then him."
The punishments were brutal. Followers were beaten, humiliated, and tortured for even minor perceived sins. Some were forced to stand naked outside in the snow for hours. Others were made to smear feces on themselves as purification. And then, the punishments escalated. Roch began performing what he called healing surgeries. He convinced his followers that illness and sin were connected, and only he could cure them. But these surgeries were nothing more than crude, sadistic acts. Roch used kitchen utensils, pliers, and alcohol. There was no anesthesia. One woman had 8 of her healthy teeth pulled out by Roch because he believed her dental fillings were evil and attracting demons. Another was forced to break her own legs with a sledgehammer as a form of penance. These weren't isolated events. For nearly a decade, Roch maintained control through terror, violence, and manipulation. Survivors later described the commune as a place where hope died slowly.
"Every day felt like the last one you'd ever live," one survivor recalled. "You woke up and wondered if today he'd decide you were the sinner. If today, you'd survive the night."
The horrors reached their peak in 1989. A woman named Solange Boilard, one of Roch's most devoted followers, complained of severe stomach pains. Roch, claiming divine insight, declared that modern medicine was corrupt and that only he could save her. He laid her on a kitchen table in front of other members. Using a kitchen knife, pliers, and ethanol, He performed what he called a cleansing surgery. He cut into her abdomen, poured boiling water inside her body, and told the others he was purifying her soul. Solange died shortly after. But Roch insisted her death was part of a divine plan. He told his followers not to mourn because he could bring her back. Over the following days, survivors say Roch performed ritualistic acts with her body, convinced he could resurrect her. His delusions were spiraling into madness, but his followers, trapped by fear and isolation, remained silent. By this point, many members wanted to escape, but Roch had conditioned them to believe that leaving would bring damnation or death by his hands. One survivor would later testify, "You didn't think of running. The woods felt endless. And even if you got away, he said God would kill you before you reached the road." But in the fall of 1989, one follower found the courage to defy him. She escaped the commune with her child and alerted authorities. Police arrived in November. What they found shocked them. Dozens of malnourished followers, children living in squalor, and evidence of abuse everywhere. Roch Thériault was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and numerous other crimes. In 1993, Theriault was sentenced to life in prison. Even behind bars, he continued to write letters to surviving followers, still trying to manipulate them. But in 2011, Roch met a violent end of his own. He was stabbed to death by a fellow inmate. For many survivors, it was the first time they felt truly free. The Anthill Kids remain one of Canada's darkest and most disturbing cults. A story not just of manipulation and control, but of how far blind faith can be twisted into something unrecognizable. Most of the survivors struggled for years to rebuild their lives. Many of the children born into the commune were placed into foster care, growing up with trauma they couldn't fully explain. And yet, the legend of Roch Thériault lingers in Quebec's forests. Locals say the remnants of his commune still stand decaying deep in the woods. Some who visit claim to hear voices. Others swear they see flickering lights between the trees at night. Perhaps it's just the echoes of a nightmare long past, or perhaps some things never truly leave. Would you have seen through Roch's lies, or would you have followed him into the woods?
That was the twisted story of the Anthill Kids, a cult that promised salvation and delivered hell. I want to know what you think. Did you already know about Roch Thériault, or was this your first time hearing his name? What part of this story stuck with you the most? Drop it in the comments. Next week, we're going deeper. We're heading to Europe for a cult that left behind a trail of fire, blood, and mystery. The Order of the Solar Temple is a name you'll never forget. This is just the beginning of Cult Month. If you liked this video, or if it haunted you in just the right way, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay strange, Third Shifters. I'll see you in the dark.